Hey guys, Rebecca Burton here. I am a freelance makeup artist and industry specific coach. I also am a mother of one and I have a rather interesting story. So I'm going to share that with you today the best way that I can because it's quite a long story. There's a lot of layers to it and I also have quite a bit of memory loss around it. So basically, I grew up without a mother or father, and I've been raised by well over 20 people. And I use the term raised loosely. Essentially, the case is I was entered into the foster care system at a very early age, so separated from my mother and my siblings. I never knew my father and basically moved from foster home to foster home until the age of about 13 or year 8, where I was moved into a a shared living space with other children. So basically it's transitional care while you wait there until a family would like to take you. So those were rather interesting places. Basically there was 2 other children, so 3 children in the house, and then there was rotating shift workers. So normally the shift workers would stay the same. If you got a new one, like you were given some notice, but sometimes you would wake up and there'd be a complete stranger in your house. And the children that I lived with, they also had a lot of issues that they were dealing with. So I was exposed to some very interesting behaviors in those living circumstances as well. So after that, I was put into another foster home that didn't work out. And then I was put into emergency care. So emergency care is when there's no homes for you and those other homes are full and they literally have nowhere to put you. So they put you in apartment accommodation, and have once again the shift workers looking after you and until you can be rehomed. And I'm not gonna lie, I had a really good time in this time of my life. The shift workers at the time I thought were great. They let me do what I want, and yeah, they let me do what I want, which really wasn't a good thing at the time, because at the time I had a boyfriend who was 10 years older than me. At this stage, I'm about 16 or 17. So I look back now and I think, oh gosh. But that's some lessons that I've learned, and that is the case. So essentially, just to give you a recap of where we are in the story. Early age, in foster care, moving from home to home, different families, never stable, separated from my siblings. In those times, we would all come together for 2-hour visits and visit our mum, which they were bittersweet because I was so excited to see my mum, and then it was like my heart would be pulled away from me when we left my mum and my siblings. So then into transitional care, then into emergency care, the age of 16. I was there for a year, from 15 to 16. I forget the actual years. But then I was moved into independent living. So essentially you're given accommodation where you rent it and you're treated like an adult, but you also have a support system, some social workers that can help you. And at the time, you give a teenager their house on their own and say they have support. They don't want the support. They think it's so cool. Well, I thought it was so cool to have my own place until the reality hit. And the reality was I was scared shitless. Every night I would dread going to sleep, or dread when the night time would come or the lights would go down, and I'd sit in my bed frozen and scared. And I found myself putting myself in situations just to avoid being alone at night, and they were unhealthy situations. Quickly I found myself caught in the wrong crowd, taking the wrong things and doing the wrong things. So for quite some time I was, what I described was on a path like this, where I would do really well in my life. I was studying makeup, and then I would fall down, be working, doing really well, meet the wrong people, or kind of lose track. And it was a real roller coaster. And it wasn't until I think it was about the age of 20, I'm going to say, that I started to see the world differently, start to understand things a little bit differently, and just wanted to make a different life choice for myself. So got myself a really good job. I met, a year later, I met the man of my dreams, the father of my son. Fortunately, we're not together anymore. He was the man of my dreams at the time. He was my Prince Charming, and things were really good for quite some time. Things were comfortable. I was in a good place. The relationship was in a good place. And then I got pregnant and had a baby, started a business, and those sequence of things opened my mind to a new world, which I kind of think I knew about, but I didn't really understand. And that was the world of personal development and growing with your business. And that's where things really changed for me. I started reading books, I started learning about business, I started understanding myself, and it's just been up from there. And in that time, I realized why I kept repeating the cycle, why I couldn't quite move past that level and that where I was. And it really came down to the conditioning of growing up. So growing up, moving from foster home to foster home, the isolation from friends, because if I wanted to visit a friend, I'd need a 2-week approval time, and it was just crazy. Growing up, I had this belief that I was worth nothing. I was worthless. Nobody wanted me. Nobody loved me. I was the scum of the earth. And I believed those things about myself. And even though I started doing really well in my life, things were looking good, I hadn't dealt with those feelings of not being enough, of not being loved. And it wasn't until that mind-opening experience after having my son and starting a business was I able to really see that and understand that. So I'm at a point in my life now where I understand my conditioning and I accept all the mistakes I made in the past. I accept what my story is, what my circumstances were, and I accept and take full responsibility for anything in my life. And that includes where I'm heading, and that is with my makeup. I want to change the makeup industry. I want to help teach other makeup artists how to love themselves and grow with their business. And I choose makeup artists because makeup's what I know, and makeup's essentially what kept me on the straight path this whole time. It's essentially what saved my life, made me see the world. So I'm here to change the makeup industry, and I want to share my story. I want to be vulnerable right now, and I want to share my story. And I know I just gave you a very brief of my story, but I want to share that because we all have a story. We all have a reason to why things aren't the way we want them to be. That's a fact. And if we can understand that story doesn't have to determine where we're going, if we can really break that down and understand that, we can have different lives. We can experience life completely different. So there we have it. That's my story. And I hope you've enjoyed this. And if you think this could touch someone or help them in any way, please feel free to share this. Thanks, guys. Bye.